You have Aidan Hutchinson, 3 sacks on Sunday. Huge game in his rookie season. Amon-Ra St. Brown. The guy has been arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL over the last 8 games. Penei Sewell, number 7. Aidan Hutchinson, number 2. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round pick. That is the difference. You have a GM that is identifying the starting talent, not only in the first round, in the later round. You may have almost a starting 11 from 2 drafts. Aidan Hutchinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Malcolm Rodriguez. What do they all have in common?
You could say motor.
I'm not going for a trait. I'm looking for something they share. Something that's happened to all of them that is relatively similar. They've all been drafted by.
Well, yeah. Obviously, yeah. By Brad Holmes, yeah.
That's where I'm going with it.
Yep.
Brad Holmes in 2 years alone has reshaped how you look at the draft. You guys go back 5, 10, 15 years. The last time I can remember the Lions stacking back-to-back first-round picks that looked damn good right out the gate. Really, you'd have to go into that short period of time where they were picking at the top of the draft, and it was Calvin, it was Stafford, and it was Sue, in that order. Not consecutive years, but still. Or was it? Was it consecutive years? I could be wrong. They were all, long story short, in a 4 or 5 year window, they were all drafted.
Yeah.
And right now you have a starting linebacker who got a hell of a PFF grade last week.
Yeah.
You have a starting right tackle who's your future left tackle who I have not had to have a conversation about.
No.
And you know why? Because whenever he steps back for pass protection, he takes his player and drags him God knows across the field. How far?
Right.
Penei Sewell is everything you thought he would be.
And the more rookie tackles I see that, like you saw Icky against the Giants have a couple false start penalties. Like it's crazy to think how you didn't hear really. And I mean, he struggled a little bit switching positions, but overall, like he's solid. You get what you get with Penei.
He's all pro, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's going to be all pro. You have Aidan Hutchinson, 3 sacks on Sunday. Huge game in his rookie season. Amon-Ra St. Brown. The guy has been arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL over the last 8 games.
Yeah.
The only 2 players you could put side by side with him statistically, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, and maybe Justin Jefferson. That's about it. Pretty good company if you ask me. He's been on a tear, and you've gotten that not only in the first round. See, the difference is Calvin, Stafford, Sue, they were all top 2, top 3 picks. Stafford was the first overall pick. Calvin was the second overall pick. Sue was the second overall pick. Penei Sewell, number 7. Aidan Hutchinson, number 2. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round pick. Malcolm Rodriguez, Jeff, do you know what round he was drafted in?
6th.
That is the difference. You have a GM that is identifying starting talent, not only in the first round, in the later rounds. Now, you want to make the case, Adam, well, Josh Pascal, Levi Onwuzurike, they're not doing all that hot. Those second-round picks aren't working out. All right, fine. I don't know a single GM that has 100% hit rate. The fact that you have 4 legitimate starters through 2 drafts already is a success.
Yeah. And the jury's not on those guys.
The fact that you may have 5, 6, dare I say 7, Chase Lucas, Jameson Williams, Josh Pascal, you may have almost a starting 11 from 2 drafts. That's what Brad Holmes has brought to the table so far.
Yeah.
And I have nothing more to say. I have nothing more to add on Brad Holmes outside of the phenomenal job him and the front office have been doing so far. That is phenomenal. It's not, oh, it's a good job. Oh, okay, we'll wait and see. Coaching will determine how many games you win. I am not concerned with the amount of talent this football team will have this season, the following year, and the year after. They're in good hands, Jeff.
Yeah, there's no questions about the talent that's going to be coming. And I think that speaks a lot, too, because if you look at former regimes, like we always bring up Eric Ebron, Aaron Donald. When guys fell to Brad Holmes, he didn't make that mistake. I mean, Penei Sewell falls to you at 7, you take him. Aidan Hutchinson doesn't get picked number 1, you take him. I mean, Brad Holmes, you saw inside the den talking about how much he wanted Amon-Ra St. Brown. He fell to him in the 4th round. He grabs him. Like, I think that's what another thing you could speak about Brad Holmes is just not only his ability to identify talent, but Really, when guys are there, and he likes those guys, especially the traits they have. You can tell all the guys he's selected, they check these boxes, not just, measurements, measurables, or athleticism, whatever it is. It's also character. Like Malcolm Rodriguez, Penei Sewell, Aidan Hutchinson, Amon-Ra, like all those guys check those boxes. And I think it speaks also to when people say same old Lions. This is what's different, is you have a general manager, like you said, that's going to get you talent. It's not a question. It's what can you do with that talent, number one. And number two, he hasn't really had an offseason where he's spent significant money yet. So think about it. Before all the money's being spent, you're getting guys in the 4th round, the 6th round, Chase Lucas in the 7th round, who could be starting that are on cheap rookie contracts. I mean, Neil Rule, out of everybody, is going to be the most ecstatic, and that's why he loves Brad Holmes, because of what he's been doing with the financials. Like it's not even just about identifying talent. It's about what he's doing behind the scenes, clearing cap space, making guys fit. And that's why ultimately going into next year, like, I'm excited to see what he does. I mean, you have 2 more first-round picks. We'll see what he can do, because you saw already waiting for Jameson Williams to get back. We don't know what we're going to get out of him. But so far, Adam, I think the biggest difference for me is when guys fall to the Lions, at least the last 2 years, he hasn't thought twice. I mean, you're taking the best player available. And that's the one thing that is kind of stand out to me the last 2 drafts, the things that it has in common. Aidan falls, you don't take anybody else. You don't take Kayvon, you take Aidan Hutchinson, you take Penei Sewell. So a lot of it is, you could say luck, whatever it is, fortune that Penei fell to you at 7. But a bad general manager could easily mess that up. I mean, listen, all know the story. We've repeated this multiple times. Eric Ebron's there, Aaron Donald's there. You take Eric Ebron, because the coach, Jim Caldwell, feels like that's the better pick. He advocates for Eric Ebron. Brad Holmes, 10 out of 10 times would have taken Aaron Donald. That's just the reality of it. So happy to have Brad Holmes, man, running the ship.
100%. I think he's done a hell of a job so far. You're seeing it on the field.
And not just in the draft, undrafted free agents. Like guys that he's finding, picking up. I mean, he can identify talent, no doubt about it.
Identifying talent, definitely not an issue for this GM. We're going to have the conversation of how good this team is going to be. Look at the contract situations you have with this team right now, okay? DeAndre Swift, a 2nd-round pick. He's in his 3rd year. Next year is the final year of his deal. TJ Hawkinson, 2 years left on a 5-year deal. 1st-round pick. They did they extended him 1 additional year. They had the 5th-year option. Hawkinson, do you know where he rated among tight ends in PFF grades in week 2?
I can't imagine.
Damn near the bottom.
Yeah, well.
But Adam, right, is what I was told. He is a exceptional run blocker, and the work he does blocking for the team.
But he's even struggled.
Is so important. He got a 55.
Yeah, he's been terrible at that.
He got a 55.6 grade by PFF for his run blocking in week 2.
And that's you got to check week 1. It's probably even worse because he didn't do a great job week 1 either. So
Hawkinson is struggling.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, oh, we can have this conversation next year. He's already on the books for next year. You put what is it, the 5th-year option? Yeah. So it's his 5th year next year. The guy through 3 seasons, now going into his 4th. He's got to turn it around. Because, again, are you going to be comfortable paying him top 5, top 7, even top 10 tight end money? I don't think you're going to. Not for that production. 7 targets, 3 catches. You kidding me? We literally ran Eric Ebron out of town for stuff like this. But we coddle Hawkinson because he's the 8th overall pick, because we like his potential, we like his ceiling. It's always the word potential with Hawk. Right. What if? And again, Hawkinson did the ultimate tease. The worst thing you can possibly do as an NFL player. Be a 4-year pro into your 4th season and your first game in NFL history. Your NFL debut to this day is still the best performance you ever put out on the field. Arizona, what was it? 11 catches, 100-plus yards,
right,
and a touchdown, I believe. Unbelievable performance. He teased you with what he could be, and he has never gotten anywhere near it since. That is the frustrating part with TJ Hawkinson.
You know, it's funny. I was watching the Giants game over the weekend, and I'm watching their I think it was a 3rd or 4th round pick tight end, Daniel Bellinger. And he first catch of the game, he catches a touchdown. And I'm thinking in my head, and I'm not saying, I'm not comparing the two, but I'm just saying, Think about that for a second. Like, the Giants have really no big name tight ends. They have really two guys. One is like a practice squad guy they called up, and then the other they drafted in the 3rd round. First catch, he first reception, touchdown. Like, it kind of speaks also to the value.
You have James Mitchell on this team, though, right? That is a guy who would have been taken much higher had he not torn his ACL.
Like James Mitchell.
So James Mitchell is there. You will. It kills me, and I hate to do this because I did it so much last year, because we were having this conversation about T.J. Hawkinson. But let's go through the division leaders after week 2, and you tell me who their tight end is.
Oh gosh.
The Miami Dolphins.
Gesicki.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pat Freiermuth.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
The man who drops a lot of balls, Evan Ingram.
Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce. That is the first one. I think we agree. Phenomenal, exceptional tight end.
Like he's a different breed. He's a receiver.
Dallas Goedert and the Eagles, we agree. Phenomenal tight end.
Mm-hmm.
That's somebody you want on your team. The Minnesota Vikings right now, top of the division.
Irv Smith, Jr.
Tampa Bay Bucks.
Cameron Brate.
49ers.
George Kittle, who didn't play last game.
And the Rams are projected to win this division, so Tyler Higbee.
Tyler Higbee.
You don't need that tight end to win your division, to be a team that's competing in your conference, dare I say, a Super Bowl contender.
Right.
You don't need it. Dawson Knox is the tight end for the Bills. The Bills are the best team in football. And that's the key word, the best team in football. You can compensate for not having somebody like a Mark Andrews, a Travis Kelce, a George Kittle by just having an exceptional team, an exceptional coaching staff. That's very doable, especially with what you have now. But Hawkinson, I am tired of. I'm tired of having the conversation of what he could be. It's always what he could be. 3 of the 8 division winners last year featured a star tight end. Kittle, they didn't win the division. Waller, didn't win the division. Who's in the championship games last year on both conferences? The Bengals? Who? What's his name?
It's kind of hard to pronounce.
Uzama?
Yeah, Uzama.
Who'd they play? Kelsey and Kansas City. Fair enough. I'll give you that one. And then you had the Niners and the Rams, and the teams that were in the Super Bowl didn't feature that star tight end.
Right.
It's not necessary.
And
the whole point of this is do not pay T.J. Hawkinson. That's it.
I'm with you.
That is the end point.
He has to prove it to me, and he hasn't done that so far. So as of right now, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we've talked about this yesterday. It's a luxury to me, unless you have Travis Kelce, of course. But other than that, or George Kittle. But the real problem for me with TJ is I've been really high on TJ. I really have. I've been excited for this season. I even went out and predicted he'd lead the team in touchdowns because I thought he'd be a real target in the red zone. The problem is through 2 games, he had the Eagles, really good defense. You saw what they did against the Minnesota Vikings last night. Didn't play necessarily that well. Didn't hold it too much to TJ. Okay, let's follow it up next game. The offense, the passing game wasn't that excellent. Jared Goff didn't play well. Fouls it up. Plays Washington. 7 targets, had some drops, didn't play well again. So that's the problem I have is he has to go show it. Like, I don't have a problem keeping him for another year, of course, but you're not paying him. I mean, if he wants top 5, top 6 tight end money, I would rather go out, save that money, and pay your wide receivers, or go out and sign a wide receiver, whatever it is. To me, you can get a tight end that can put up the numbers TJ's putting up right now. I mean, 2 catches for 40 yards in both games. I know he's better than that, but if that's what you're giving me,
all right,
you could find that elsewhere.
Well, here we go. We'll go through the number of average salary per year, and then we'll wrap up. $17 million a year for Waller, $15 for Kittle, $14 for Kelce, $14 for Goddard, $14 for Andrews, $14 for Njoku, $13 for Knox, $13 for Henry, $13 for Jonnu Smith, $11 for Gesicki, $11 for Schultz. How does that sound? $11 for Zach Ertz. Are you going to pay him more than 14? I don't think you will.
No, I'm giving him. If you're paying him, it would be on. Like between Dalton Schultz and
he
Zach
hasn't
Ertz.
proven it, and I don't want to hear the Pro Bowl argument. He was a goddamn replacement. Stop it. Stop it.